So that's great. Let me start recording because we just started talking about the pathology project, and I think you bring up something really good, JD. Most likely, my recommendation is across the board to visualize everything you want to say with pictures, because once we get to making a video, then you will notice how much easier it is to use your bullet points as a guide of what you want to say, but use the picture as where you're going to explain it to the people that listen to it. At least
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's
you know.
I think it's that was helpful because I didn't add pictures originally just because I thought it was so much text. So I think I'm going to split it up into 2 slides so I can add pictures and explain it along the way, and then I'll have the pictures pop up while I'm explaining it to make it a little more visually.
Yeah, that's a very good point too. Don't overwhelm the slides. I often almost overwhelm the slides. If you listen to my lectures, I think I still struggle with that. Have like a few points on a slide and visualize and text in the same slide, because you can use the text to guide you and the picture to explain it. And you know, there's no reason why you can't jump a few slides, and you know, it doesn't have to be all crammed into one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I'm going to add a second slide for the causes and then spread it out and add the pictures. So because there's not too many causes that I added on there, so I can spread it out and add pictures for each one, which will
I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, even if you know, do a cartoony thing on something, like you know, would be at least visualize it, just sticks in people's brains so much more when there's a visual with it than when it's just written word. Cool. So yeah, I think that's excellent. You guys are doing such a good job. I'm really excited about that, and I can't wait to get some of these products and learn, because somebody's actually, they're doing Alzheimer's stuff and the changes and why research is not, why medication is not working and so forth.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. So I'm having some really cool stuff this week. Well, all of you guys, what I've seen is fantastic. How are you guys doing with integrating the brain and the special senses, what we've been doing the last few weeks? How are you guys doing with that?
I think the brain, I like the brain. So the brain is pretty good for me, but like the special senses, that's a little harder. I mean, I know some like around like what is in the eye, I know that stuff. So it's more of connecting the image to what it does specifically and what the senses are. So that's what I'm really trying to focus on. But I've been understanding the brain because I mean, after we did the dissection the other day, that helped a lot to see everything on the actual thing. Like the picture only helped so much, you know? So being able to...
Yeah. And so that's what we're doing today in class, if, you know, whoever can come this week. Just it's the Thanksgiving week, and I didn't compute that when I made the schedule. So we're not meeting on Wednesday. You guys got, because I don't think anybody would show up. And so we're only meeting today. So I'm actually expecting quite a good class. And so that's good. And we can also pick up, you know, questions later on. Do you have anything specific or what I teach? Do you feel like it's explaining pretty okay what we're doing? So just through it, or do you have any questions?
Not as many questions, because I've been relying more on the booklets you gave us, just because, you know, I've been catching up. So I've been like trying to do more booklet stuff, which is more fast paced and I can go on my own pace. Absolutely. But I think everything is more laid out, and then I can more easily follow along with the quizzes and see everything kind of there. And then if I want to go more in depth, I'll look through the videos, scan through, and then kind of go through those and choose a part where I'm kind of not understanding as much. But I think it's good. But you know that I'm like trying to do 3 different things at once. So
yeah, of course. No, that's totally, I'm just, you know, if the thing, and that's actually a good point. The booklets help you kind of streamline it a little bit or go
and like for me, I'm going on my own pace, so I can go in, I can highlight it, go mark down, take notes on the specific parts, and I can, like, you know, annotate the booklets, because that's also what's going to help me get it in my mind. So I'll annotate what I'm confused about, what I want to highlight and what I want to like make sure I bullet point or mark down so I know I can go back to this and this is helpful information.
Yeah. Now I got to figure out how to get it into a GoodNote version for you, huh?
Yep, of course.
I'm working on that. It's
Yeah.
too big right now, but we can look at it later on. What about you, Lupita? How are you doing with the material?
I'm doing good. I've also been using the booklets a lot, and I feel like I'm a visual learner, so I do use images a lot to help me kind of like locate the special senses. So I think I've been doing good so far.
Okay. So, and again, we don't need to elaborate too detailed because I'm trying to explain it in multiple different ways. But if there is any questions that come up, make sure you just shoot me a text or reach out on a Monday session. We can talk about it and clarify things that aren't clear, because the more you understand the fundamental of this class, what I try to teach you, then you build on that in the next class potentially. But that foundation of anatomy and physiology helps you then really go into studies of pathology, like what goes wrong in the disease process, right? Because then you know what goes right first, and then we can learn what goes wrong. And so the more you pick these things up, and that's also why I made the booklets, because then we can keep, I mean, you don't have to keep them, but I try to make an effort to, have it accessible material to also look it up later on.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably keep mine because I have a lot of science classes in the next few semesters, because since I'm pursuing nursing, so gonna be.
And the problem is the textbooks are just often so overladen with text.
Mm.
And there is images, but I was reflecting the other day, and when I went through chiropractic school, and I guarantee you, I did not read a textbook. I went to every class, I took notes through the nose. I had the textbooks, and I was reading up a little here and there, like the highlighted words maybe, and the pictures, understanding the picture. But for the most part, I did not learn by reading the textbook because I couldn't pick it up that way. It was too complicated for me.
Yeah.
And I needed to have it explained. And so that's what I've tried to do for you guys, because I don't think an anatomy class should be an English class or something.
Yeah, no, my old teacher used to make me read the entire textbook and write outlines on it, and it took forever, and I didn't learn anything, and it was like really hard to get through that class because he just made us read chapters of the textbook, and so and there was like barely any pictures, so I didn't understand it.
Yeah, no, I can't. And I think the majority of us are that way. I just believe the people who write the textbooks are like the super nerds in a topic, and that's a different world, It's like that's not how you explain things.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everyone has different studies, like, or a different way to understand and really learn the material, because like when we're doing it, we have to really get it in our brains to be able to understand it. And
you want to then apply it at some point, and that's even a deeper level.
Yeah, and you need to learn, like, it's not just learning it too. You want to learn how to, like, especially in anatomy, you can't just learn it. You want to learn how to dissect and know where it is on the body, where it is, what it does, all of that too. So you don't want to just. Yeah.
No, it's very interesting. Anyway. So but I just want to make sure you guys don't feel bad if you ever read a textbook and you fall asleep, it's a normal thing that happens.
Yeah, that's happened in times. Yeah.
And because it took me a long time to not feel like I'm something's weird with me that I can't do that. And so I want to make sure you guys getting into this process of school, do not torture yourself excessively over that.
Yeah.
Well, let me just reiterate a little bit. When we do work through the material, you can see my screen, right? I hope. When you work through the material, you got this test 3 thing here. And in there is a test review and talking about non-pictures. But here there is a link. I didn't put it in directly, but I made a link to all the stuff you need to know as far as the physiology type concerns is going on for the tests. And so I want you to have this document parallel as you work through it or go back. I've said it a few times now, maybe print it out, have it on a tablet or something, and understand that I want you to really know these bullet points. I really want you to understand, because those are the ones I'm going to ask you questions on the test for. And so
Okay.
Okay. So that's, I think, important. And again, that helps us focus in on what there's a lot of important things, but I think those are some of the major points that we should pick up in these chapters. So I have this for every chapter here till the end, because the last test will encompass quite a bit of information that we covered. And with having a really good test review, you don't have to always think like, oh, I got to memorize this. I got to memorize this. You can just sort of think of, how can I understand this? Because that's really the most important.
Yeah.
And then I also have a link here to the term list for the anatomy terms that I want you to, I give you guys this in the lab as well, but just this is the terms that you will be responsible for the lab portion of the test. And this lab portion here is not going to be a writing test, a writing part. It's going to be multiple choice. So this should make you really happy, because you don't have to memorize all these terms and be able to spell them. You have to just pick them up out of a list of 4. Okay. So that should make the study easier, that I don't want you to go crazy about feeling like you have to memorize. So again, focus mostly on the understanding, and then, the test is really applying what you have on these pages that I have made for you.
Yeah.
Like this one and then this one. So I don't want to scare you for the test. I just want to make sure you guys know what we're doing, and that way you can prepare properly as you go through these next few weeks. Any questions to that? Or are you guys pretty cool with that?
I think I'm good, since I think I have enough time to, get done with all of the other stuff first, and then.
Oh, you will. Yeah, you will. Absolutely.
Prepare for the, yeah,
you will. And if you catch up and you kind of do the back, but you also move a little with looking through the videos, or do the quizzes and work on the material, it all comes together. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't get do one at a time. I mean, don't get too overwhelmed. Try to break it down to little baby steps, and I can help you guys with that. If somebody of you listening and you like a little guidance with, hey, how can I manage my time because it's just getting me crazy, I can help you figure out and prioritize what exercises and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just shoot me a text and I'll be here for you guys. So this week we did finish up week 13. We finished up the neurology. We have a couple more things left for this week. Is the gratitude journal discussion. That was where you wrote down things that you were grateful about during the day, like a nice sunset or stuff like that. And then you talk about it a little bit with each other. And also then the video presentation we're working on this week as well. That can be a little bit fluid. I certainly have an extra leeway week to finish up with that. And then now we're moving towards the respiratory system, digestive system. We do a little nutrition, and then we'll finish up with the kidneys, the urinary system, and the reproductive system. And at the end, I'll have a little bit of embryology, because I think it's important to kind of understand that, especially that the guys need to know more about that. They're usually the ones who are not that educated on that stuff. But trying to level the playing field a little bit. But the respiratory system and the digestive systems, there's a lot going on. I mean, the respiratory system, we want to pick up oxygen and other things and get rid of gases that we breathe, the carbon dioxide and other things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's fairly straightforward compared to the brain. That's, it's more of a, this is this and this is what it does. So when we go through the respiratory system, you'll learn about the parts, going down to the lungs and then inside the lungs. And then we talk about how the oxygen gets picked up, and a little physiology. But it's not that voluminous in terms of difficulty. So we talk about the passages, the upper parts, the upper airways are the mouth, and then going down into the throat, and then as it gets into the towards the lungs and the voice box. The voice is also created here. Then we'll talk about the lower airways. An interesting portion in the respiratory system that we'll talk about is how do we actually breathe, and the fact that the lungs are attached to the chest wall via suction, and when the chest moves and expands or the diaphragm goes down, that's when the lungs inflate. So that's kind of a cool little thing about the lungs that I think. And we can certainly talk more about it also when we meet in lab or next week, you know, when you guys work through it, or the following weeks as well, if you guys are a little behind. And so that's that. And then the next chapter that we're doing is the digestive system. And that's your food tube, basically. You know, essentially we have to here talk about getting the food into the system, and then where's my thing? You know, chewing it up, getting some saliva in to mix it up. So we have digestion, which is food breakdown, both on a mechanical as in chewing, or the stomach. When the stomach growls, you know, that's a churning inside. So that's also mechanically digesting food or breaking it down. And then the other part in the digestion is the chemical breakdown of the food, where we do enzymes. We have like the saliva is part of that, for example, stomach acid. And so it's kind of, from that perspective, interesting. And then we have to absorb the particles, the food, small little, you know, macronutrient particles into the bloodstream. And it talks about how we do that as well in this chapter. So we have a few things to this, but again, from a physiology portion, make sure you look at the test review when you read through the videos or look through the booklets, that you know what I want from you guys. And when it comes to the anatomy terms, there is, of course, these labelings that we have with that. So that shouldn't be too complicated on this. There's not that many anatomy terms that I want you to squeeze into your head. We've done a lot of work already. And then we also have a little health kit that I do here. So for 1 week, I want you to write down, do a little food journal. But I want to, because I'm taking actually a nutrition class right now myself, and we're doing this whole thing about food analysis, and everything is counting calories or counting cups and measuring and things like that. And so that's fine. But what we have found in research is that what's much more important is food journaling. It's like, what do I do when I eat? Like, what food do I eat? How much? But we don't have to be too worrisome about the exactness, because what I'm more interested in, I mean, yes, but what I'm more interested in is in when do I eat? Where do I, with whom do I eat? What kind of a mood do I have? What kind of activity do when I eat? Do I eat in front of a TV? Do I have a conversation? We're sitting there and we're slowly, you know, eating a meal. Am I happy? Am I like depressed and I barely get the thing down because I'm so stressed out? Those things are much, much more important when we look at behavior with food. And so what I would like us to do, if it's okay with you, if this is all triggering, talk to me. I'm not going to torture you guys, but I want, if it's not all food triggering, because it can be, food is a very delicate thing. I would like for you guys for a week, más o menos, 5 days, write down what you eat, how much, more or less, what time, where, with whom, and what activity doing, what mood did you have while you were doing it. So does that make sense? A little bit? Yeah. And then down here, I got a few questions to answer in terms of, you know, what reflecting on that stuff a little bit. But so I want to do about 5 days. I think I probably wrote down a week, but 5 days is fine. And I'm having the due date here in December 4th. So, because I'm expecting people to start more towards the end of the week. Okay, and that's about it for this week. And then we got some, you know, a little Padlet, but that's it. Good. Any questions to that? Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I just, after we end the recording, I want to talk to you about something. But
That's fine.
I think I think that was helpful. I know what I gotta do now to.
Yeah, no, one of the things that I realized, was taking an art class is one of the hardest things is to try to figure out what the teacher wants. And we want to try to minimize that as much as possible because
with
that's the most frustrating part to me, at least.
Yeah, but with your rubrics, it's pretty straightforward, and I understand what you want, and
Good.
then your assignments are clear enough where it's easily understandable. So you like most of my professors this year like give me extensive like assignments that seem like it's a lot, but it actually isn't. It's just they just want it to be detailed enough where you know exactly what you're supposed to do, which is which is very helpful because when I look at your assignments, it's like kind of scary because there's a lot of stuff on it. But in the end, I'm not doing a lot. So
Right. No, and that's the thing where we have to figure out how to make it and not trigger anxiety. Or at least that's all I have. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a 4-hour project, and it turns out to be like an hour or something.
Yeah, no, when I read like you can see like the 2 hours, the 4 hours, the 3 hours, I'm like, that seems like a lot of time. But then after sitting down and actually sitting down doing my work, I got like 3 of my evaluations and discussions done in a couple hours. So it's really not that much. It's just, it seems like a lot. And also the only ones that take a long time is the ones that are throughout the week. Because then I have to remember to do them throughout the week to be done for this due date. So
yeah, right. No, you guys are doing fantastic. And yeah, if anything is not clear, you got questions, just reach out, don't moan over it too much and get frustrated for that. Over that. That's, I think, another piece that's especially for online classes, because it's easy to then just put it to the side and not pick it back up.
Yeah.
What about you, Lupita? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, I definitely do like your class. Like JD said, I like how you have every assignment with like 1 hour or to like 2 hours. I think that's very helpful.
Okay, good.
I have no questions.
Okay. Well, then we don't have to stick around more. We can just go back to our daily thing and keep learning more about our body. All right. Good. Well, then I'll stop the recording. You guys have a wonderful week. I'll stay on for a little bit after that. All right. Good.
Thanks, Professor.